As I've talked about before, I'm one of those people who believe that the more views equals better quality when it comes to recipe videos. I want to make some brownies today to suck up to my neighbor, so I go to my YouTube search bar and I typed in brownie recipes. Filtered it by view count and started calculating the most viewed recipe on YouTube. So the most viewed videos from a Bengali channel, but they don't give verbal instructions. Here we have Tasty claiming the best brownies I'll ever eat. When I scroll down, there's Tasty claiming the best fudgy brownie ever. Right below is another Tasty video making 3 brownies. So with a combined view of 42 million, we're gonna go with the Tasty brownie recipe today. I was trying to decide which one to make, but when I saw this scene, it got me feeling some type of way, so we're going with this one. Now let's get started.
We always say this, I know, but like these are actually the best brownies you're ever going to have.
They said it 3 times to be exact.
They're gooey, they're chocolatey, they're fudgy. They live up to every expectation you think a brownie should be.
The chocolate chip cookie recipe last time exceeded our expectations, so I have high hope for this one.
Alright guys, as always, prep your tin, you know what to do, butter and parchment.
I actually didn't know what to do, but I guess we're gonna rub butter all over the surface of this hotel pan and put some parchment paper on top of it. I didn't know that a layer of butter stabilizes and helps the parchment paper adhere to the surface. It's such a neat little trick that I'll soon forget.
And the chocolate bar you want to use is dealer's choice. You can go for something really mellow like a milk chocolate bar, or go into something really dark, like an 80% dark chocolate would work really well in here.
I'm gonna go with really dark chocolate. Due to personal knowledge, the darker something is, the bigger and better the experience is. So this is about 8 ounces of chocolate.
We're going to double up on the chocolate, so we're going to use cocoa powder as well.
And another piece of personal knowledge is that doubling up is always a good idea. We're gonna add about a 1/4 cup of it for now.
Espresso powder just does a really great job of enhancing any chocolate flavor in a recipe.
A tablespoon of espresso powder to enhance the flavor.
When we add the hot melted butter to the chocolate, cocoa powder, and espresso powder, it's going to help melt everything down and dissolve, which is going to help keep our brownies really fudgy later on.
So the recipe calls for 1 1/4 cup of butter, which is a block and a 1/4 of a block. I'm too lazy to cut up a whole new block of butter, so I'm gonna use the little knob I used on the parchment earlier. I feel like a little less oil is good for everybody. We'll first get it nice and bubbly on the stove like this, and then pour into the cocoa powder and chocolate. And then we'll use a fork to whisk it all up till it's nice and smooth.
Sugars, we have granulated sugar, and then when deciding between light brown and dark brown,
I don't have granulated sugar, but I have these organic cane sugar in the shape of rocks. Just by looking at the amount of butter and sugar we're adding in, I'm starting to understand why my doctor's telling me to stop eating brownies. And that's why I don't go to him anymore. He's just a hater with a medical license.
Real difference here is that dark brown has more molasses, ergo more flavor. I don't even know what ergo means.
So here goes 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar, and ergo means as a result or therefore.
And we're also going to add a bit of salt as it brings out the flavor in any baked good.
First 2 teaspoons of silent vanilla extract, aka dessert MSG. And 2 teaspoons of salt to enhance flavor.
So we're going to have 6 eggs. Always crack your eggs into a separate bowl in case you get any shell.
6 eggs into a cup. It kind of looks like a bodybuilder's breakfast smoothie.
You can start by adding 1 egg to the sugar just so you don't make a huge mess.
Check out this sugar clump. We'll start by adding 1 egg at a time to make it easier to whisk.
Once you get it going though, you can add the rest of them. No big deal. You don't have to be like super careful like you would for a cake, for instance.
She just reminded me we haven't made a cake on this channel yet. What should be our first cake? Let me know in the comments. Once our mixture is starting to look like Italian witchcraft, we can add in the rest of the eggs.
One thing that he did with his brownies was he would beat the living crap out of the eggs and sugar and really incorporate tons of air.
As she just instructed, we have to incorporate tons of air into the mixture by beating the crap out of it. And since it's gonna take me a while, I'm just gonna go beat it on the couch.
It's every day, bro. It's every day, bro.
So much so that it would look like a super thick pancake batter almost.
With the motivation from my favorite song, our batter is getting pretty thick. Doesn't really look like a pancake batter, but this is the best I can do.
And then you're gonna pour in that beautiful ganache that we made.
And now I'm gonna pour in the beautiful ganache that we just made.
Oh my god. Actually, when we were shooting this, there is a crowd of people around us because we couldn't get over how insanely delicious this looked.
Usually when I make food, there's a crowd of people trying to escape my 50-mile radius, but they still can't outrun the radiation of my chicken. Also, that scene was so satisfying. Let's watch it again with some music.
Listen.
realistic.
I'm really upset that America can't get on the metric system, but like fine. So if we're gonna use cups, always scoop and level.
I'm a big fan of the US system, so I'll teach you guys how to count from teaspoon to gallon. If you're not from the US, you probably don't know it, and if you're from the US, you definitely don't know it. Starting with a teaspoon is 5.69 grams, and 3 teaspoons is a tablespoon, 16 tablespoons is a cup, 2 cups a pint, 2 pints a quart, 4 quarts a gallon, and 2 gallons is how much chili jam you need to kill off Uncle Roger.
Yeah!
And you're going to sift the flour and the cocoa powder into the mixture to make sure we have no lumps, and just make sure that we're really quickly incorporating it into the rest of the batter.
After sifting a whole cup of flour, I have to do half a cup of cocoa powder. I'm running very low on cocoa powder, so I'm gonna try my best to get the last little bit out.
And fold.
And fold.
Because we beat all that air in with the eggs, we don't want to totally deflate that, so just get the dry ingredients incorporated as quickly as you can.
I learned in a pancake making video that sometimes lumps of dry ingredients will naturally dissolve once you start cooking it. So we're just gonna fold it a little bit and start baking.
Pour the completed batter into your prepped tin.
Now we're gonna pour the batter into the baking dish. It's gonna be extremely satisfying or remind you of Chipotle.
Smooth it out to make sure everything's pretty level.
I don't think mine needs any smoothing. Why does it look like that? Hers kind of look like a chocolate cake batter, but mine, if you look very closely, you can see my ugly ass face.
And into the oven it goes. So these are gonna rise quite a bit. After about 20 minutes, we're gonna take them out.
We'll put this in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes.
Take the brownies out and slam them on your kitchen counter. It's gonna crack the top as well as evens out everything, and you get a much more like consistent texture.
So you know how I told you that my neighbors bother me with their headboards? This is the only means I have to get them back.
These are the same recipe. The one on the left is not whacked, right whacked.
I just realized when all other pastries are trying to be light and airy, brownie is just trying to be as dense of a goo as possible.
We're also going to add a bit of sea salt, optional but highly recommended. It adds a little salty bite.
Seasoning with salt is pretty important because when my mouth is greeted by a salty surprise, I'm more likely to swallow it.
A lot of baked goods, you'll stick a toothpick in and no batter remains, then you're good. It's kind of not the case with these brownies.
So after the whacking and the salt, we'll put it back in the oven for about 25 minutes.
When they do cool down, they also will deflate quite a bit. It results in a really even texture all throughout.
That cooling time lapse is pretty cool, so I'll give you guys one too.
I need to cut things nice. They need to be like a good, perfect square. It's so satisfying to see like a perfectly cut batch of brownies, obviously.
I need it to be a perfect square as well. And if you've been wondering, the real purpose of the Ligma fork is to easily grab the centerpiece of baked goods.
And that is it. I mean, look at that texture. Look at it.
You guys too. Look at it. I'm gonna put it on a black plate to try to bring out the colors more and post it on Instagram, of course.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that like Stockton.
I feel like some of you might be gaslighting me because these brownies look much better than my last attempt. They look really good all piled up like this. You can tell just how fudgy and dense the center is. It's like the middle ground for cake and straight up fudge. Now it's time to taste it and rate it 1 through 10.
Damn.
Fudge floors. Because it's so dense, it kind of turns into a moist paste, which makes it a little bit hard to swallow, not gonna lie. I think the best part is definitely the flavor. Since we doubled down on chocolate, every single bite comes through with this extremely rich chocolate taste. The texture, the flavor, and the sweetness are all powerful. Kinda makes you feel like you're decreasing your longevity by 2 years with every bite you take. Look at how when I squeeze it, all the butter is oozing out. But just based on the taste, I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10. And it's pretty easy to make too. Highly recommend. Thank you all so much for 600,000 subscribers. We're approaching the most important milestone, 696k. And when that happens, I'm gonna make a cake to celebrate. And comment down below what kind of cake I should make. Alright, thank you.